I got the board.
What day is it?
It is January 6th.
Oh, yeah, dude.
And
Nerd.
today is active and passive voice.
Okay.
Yay, Cal hates it.
Yeah.
Hey, Vink. Cal hates homework about it. In Spanish.
Okay. So, active voice is when the subject is doing the action, the subject of the sentence. When the action is performed on the subject, it's passive voice. Alright, so let's look at an example of this. Okay, the tornado demolished the town. What is the subject of this sentence? Tornado is the subject. What is the verb?
Demolished.
Demolish. That's our action. And what did it demolish?
The
The
town.
town. The town is our direct object. It's receiving the action demolish. So is this passive voice or active voice?
Active.
Active voice, because the subject is doing the action. Right? What about this?
The town is being demolished by the tornado.
Passive.
Or we'd say was. Let's say was.
The town demolished the tornado. Tornado.
Okay, so now our subject is
Tornado. No,
town. And what's our verb?
demolished.
Was demolished.
Was demolished.
Okay. And then we have by the tornado, which is a prepositional phrase. Tornadoes are object of the preposition. Prepositional phrase. But we see the difference. The action is being performed on the town. The town is being demolished. Now, with these two sentences, is there one that you prefer? Is there one that sounds better to you?
The tornado demolished the town.
It's quick, easy, not
The
wordy.
town was demolished by the tornado sounds better.
Yeah. With these particular sentences, it's kind of hard to tell like which one is the better choice. You're right. Generally speaking, active voice is more interesting for your reader, which is a problem if you're like me and you talk and think in passive voice, because then you have to get used to reading through and making sure that your subject is doing the action. It just remember in Essay Voyage how we talked about little habits that make things easier for the reader to like? You don't remember, Allison, but the rest of you do.
Allison.
Active voice is one of those. It's one of those
Thanks.
things that you may not notice right away, but it makes it easier for your reader to stay involved. It's more interesting. It moves quicker. Fewer wasted words. I think you said it was shorter. Yeah, fewer wasted words.
It moves quicker, but I think passive, it feels like it describes it more, so I like passive.
Well, and
In
it's
that
not
sentence.
like we've learned with the English language. It's not like a hard and fast rule that you can never, ever, ever
Never
use
break it.
passive voice. But I will say for sure your English teachers in high school and college are going to find it. They're going to take their red pen and they're going to mark it out. Now, in a few hours, we're going to do poetry, and you'll see in poetry, the rules go out the window. So that's different.
They have been thrown.
Yes, but generally speaking, for essays, for narratives, for stories, you want it to be an active voice. It's more interesting for the reader, it moves quickly, and it takes away extra words that we don't need. So generally speaking, active voice, yes, passive voice, no. There are some occasions where you can have passive voice in there. If you want to set a certain mood, remember how we talked about the tone and the mood in creative writing? If you want to set a mood, let's say your narrator is a passive person, well, using a lot of passive voice will help get that point across. In poetry, same thing. If you're trying to set a mood where maybe the subject doesn't do a lot, then you're going to have all the action happening to the subject, not the subject doing the action. But generally speaking, don't do passive voice, active voice. Let's take a couple more notes and then we'll look at your packets. Okay, passive verb is formed. By adding, where'd it go? By adding a to be helping verb. So in your homework and in your own writing, you're going to have to identify passive voice. You're going to have to look at sentences and be able to tell, is this active or passive? And this is one way you can find out. Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule. There are some times where you're going to use helping verbs. It's not going to be passive voice. But in general, if you see a variation of to be plus a verb, check. That should be red flag to you. Is this passive voice? Another way you can tell, which is way more fun, is the by zombies rule.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So in our example, the town was demolished by the tornado. If you just take the subject and verb and add by zombies, and it makes sense, then it's passive voice. So the town was destroyed by zombies. Okay, passive voice. Because the zombies were the ones doing the action. The action was happening to the subject.
You can't say that the tornado demolished the town by zombies. That doesn't make any sense.
Exactly.
It would be the zombies
town was
demolished.
being demolished by zombies.
Yep. And we also see the was. Was is a to be verb. Alright, so does that make sense? Two things you can look at when you're trying to identify active and passive voice. Passive voice is going to have some form of to be, or you could try the by zombies rule. Okay?
By zombies.
Let me steal a packet and see if there's anything in here we need to go over. In your packet, on the front page with the arrow, it gives you the passive and active forms, like all of them. And so this can help you too if you're really struggling. Maybe tomorrow you go to start the homework and you've completely forgotten all of this. Look through. These are examples of all of those breakdowns of active and passive voice. And I think there was one more. Maybe not. Well, the ones you had to conjugate an active voice. And so that could help too. Yeah.
We can go to perfect progressive, plural, second person present. Alright,
so in your homework, on page 144, you're going to do exercise A. There are verbs in italic. You're going to identify if they're active voice or passive voice. You can use one or both of the two tricks. You're going to look for a to be verb. You're going to try by zombies, or you can look and see who's performing the action. Is the subject performing it, or is it being performed on the subject? Identify active and
What
passive.
page?
144.
Ew.
Gross.
And then
Why?
exercise B.
What?
It gives you a sentence because 144 is a gross. It's not funny.
It's a math
What?
term.
It's a math term.
Like how
Like
we
a
have
dozen
12
is
a
12.
dozen.
144 is a gross.
Okay.
It's not fun. Alright, and then in exercise B, you're going to rewrite the sentences. They are in active voice. You're going to change them to passive voice.
That's not really a talent we'll be needing, though.
You will be wanting the opposite of that talent, but this is a good way to make sure you understand the difference between the two. Okay? Are there any questions about the homework?
Nope.
The chapter does go on and it has like the conjugation of active and passive voice. You don't need to know that, so don't worry about it, and that's what exercise C and D are. Don't worry about them, just A and B, that's all we're doing.
Okay.
And
Alright,
Which
so you can pause
exercise
the
is that?
video, Allie.
Which exercise
Pause
are
it.
we doing?
Yeah.